Welcome to Thorn's YouTube channel. It's going to be a wild ride.
Right, this is going to be another episode of Reflections, and my guest for this one is going to be Legia, who is a veteran German, but also part Serbian player. That's one of those things where if you know him and Gobby, it's complicated. Depends what the game is, what the flag is, what the situation is. By the way, actually, to start out at the outset there, are you one of those people? How do you define yourself as German? Do you think of yourself as German? Do you think of it as your roots? How do you do it?
I'm born and raised in Germany, so
Right.
Technically I am German. My family is from Serbia. I'm very proud to be Serbian. I think like many other Serbs are.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, I cannot say I'm not German. I cannot say it. I've been raised here. I live the culture here, so yeah.
Because since you came up in the German Counter-Strike scene, I have to say, I actually didn't know you from 1.6 because you came at the very end of 1.6. So that was actually, if people don't know, when EPS Germany, which it was a tournament I used to follow, but that was when it sort of died off. Like, obviously, the Mouse Sports team split up because of what happened with 6, and it kind of died off a little bit. Does this mean you came totally through the German scene? Were you like rising through the ranks of the lower things or whatever? What were you doing in 1.6?
Yes, I only played in German teams, and it was always pretty much like I played myself up to the ranks. I would say I never joined like a big team or anything, or a team that was in the EPS already. So I relegated always with my team. And it was even with Tapson back then when he was like 13, 14, I think. That's when we started playing together. And yeah, mostly German teams. But at the end of 1.6, Christian joined our team. That's when we switched to English. And also we had a period where we played with Crazy and Bully, 2 Danish guys. We played with them as well, so I guess I experienced a little bit of international Counter-Strike at the end of 1.6.
Yeah, that's actually something I wanted to ask, because as you say, when you're in the team, it's actually a really old school clan, if people don't know, called DKH, Deutsche Krankhausen, or whatever the fuck it's called, an old school then. It's really, really old school, but obviously it was like a smaller team at this point in time. As you say, you actually had a lineup I wanted to tell you about, which is mad, because it has Tapson in, so people know that. It has Christian, okay, not too crazy, he's not that crazy for a Dutch guy to play in another team, obviously they didn't have their own team. But then Zipnix was in this team as well, like what? What?
That's actually funny. So in 1.6, I don't know how many, if many people know about it, but we played a lot of 10-mans, and there was like this on IRC. There was like the chat that you used before.
It's like Discord.
I guess so. Yeah. Discord, yeah, pretty much Discord, where there was like a channel with all the pro players, and they always used to play like in-house matches. And I played a lot in there, and that was like also Zipnix was playing there, and there was this guy Kolon, also a Danish player. So I played a lot with them. We had a lot of fun playing together, and I don't remember who couldn't play. I think it was Fai, German player. I think he couldn't attend the LAN, so we needed a replacement. And since we played a lot with Zipnix and Kolon, Christian suggested just ask him if he wants to play, and yeah, that's how it happened.
So who was young Zipnix then?
Sorry?
Who was young Zipnix? Who was this guy?
He was very talented, but many people actually thought they were cheating, both him and Kolon.
Right.
They had like this very big cheetah image, I would say. But yeah, he was really, really, really good, very mechanically gifted player back then. And he destroyed pretty much this whole IHL, International League. And yeah, I think he was very talented, and I think also he already showed potential that he's going to play like in a professional team. Obviously, you didn't know what's going to happen with CSGO, how big is it going to get, and such, because CS 1.6 was actually dying. Not many people were still playing it or even enjoying it, I guess. But yeah, he was always playing like with the pros. Freeze was used to play, Trace used to play, Kerrigan even used to play, so he was already involved in the pro scene, I would say. Which was back then also very hard, like to make the jump from like a semi-professional to professional, to even hang out on TeamSpeak with them, listen when they play, the 10-mans, how they communicate and all that. That was like such a big thing for a young player. And I think at that point, if you're involved in these groups, I guess you can say that you've pretty much almost made it.
As you say, you were also with the young Tapson before anyone knew him, before he became the star player. And obviously throughout your career, many, many, many times you've been in teams together, worked together. What was young Tapson like? Could you already see any of sort of the seeds of what he became?
Yeah, he was a very good player. He didn't play much actual CS. He used to play like only knife maps and surf maps. That was like for the most time of his life. and I think then he started like playing deathmatch and like some ESL. Back then, ESL had a German ladder where you can play ranked pretty much on the website. That's when he started then playing, and yeah, I guess he only needed to improve his aiming, but because his movement was amazing. Like he spent so much time on like all these KZ maps, surf maps, so he would like his movement was amazing. And in CS 1.6, it was like actually a big thing. If you have really good movement, it's like gonna help you a lot in the game. Like people like Forrest, for example, when they swing at you, it's not like it's not a fair duel. It's not a fair duel. He will move left, right, crouch. So it's very hard. And Tubbs had amazing movement. He adapted very fast. Like he learned very fast. Like about the game, and yeah, we used to have like this. It's called B Rush. I don't know if you ever heard about it. It's like you go with 8 people on a server, mostly played on Inferno, and you play 3 attacker, like 3 Ts.
Oh,
and,
it's sort of like a
5
retake server
CTs.
or something, right?
Yeah,
kind of,
and yeah, exactly. And whoever gets like 10 rounds has won. And Tubbs used to play that a lot also, and that's how I got to know him through that. And then we started playing more and more together. He became really good, very, very good actually. I think he was even at the end by far the best on the team, maybe with Chris J, I would say. So yeah, but he was a very different human being, like completely different human being. He was very rude.
Oh, right, okay.
Absolutely not respectful. Like really, you would say like, holy fuck, what's wrong with this kid?
Okay.
And like if you see him today, it's like a completely different human. And I hope so that I had a small part in it, because we were very, very close at one point. When he was 15, I think we went to our first LAN game with our team, and his parents like were afraid. And then I told them like I will take care of him and all this. So I became like his big brother, I would say. So yeah.
Were you someone? Yeah, go on.
He was very talented. He learns very, very quick, very quick.
Were you someone who was dreaming of like becoming a top pro and all success? And all, were you someone who had that dream?
Absolutely. That's why I think I also sacrificed a lot in my life for that. Because like today it's completely different than it was back then. Back then you didn't like really want to play for the money. You wanted to play for a legacy, I guess. Like be part of this beautiful thing that you love to do. And I had that feeling very, very early when I started playing. The moment I heard about the professional scene, from that day I gave everything for that. Even like a lot of problems with my parents, because obviously I didn't go that often I went to school obviously because my parents would know, but I slacked a lot in school, didn't learn much, always played as much as I could. So that gave me a lot of problems with my parents. But yeah, somehow I always made it. If they hide my PC or the cables, I will always look in the house, always somehow find them. So yeah, I was always obsessed with it, always.
When in CSGO, a lot of people probably don't know this because they don't remember the early Mousespots lineups, but you obviously were able in those early days to play in one of those lineups with Chris J. So who was Chris J? Because the funny thing is, I always tell people he had a very different reputation in 1.6. And 1.6 people obviously used to say he was an onliner because he was kind of just like a really explosive AWPer. Like everyone used to think he was just like, must be cheating or he's got nerves or something, you know. He obviously became himself a very different personality and figure in the scene. Who was Chris J at the time?
I mean, Christian was a very strong AWPer in 1.6, and before I started playing with him, I knew that he played like, I think it was SWC already before, so that was like a big thing for me. It was really nice for me, like to actually play with a player like that who already has some experience, and always speaking about the times he had on these tournaments. But when it comes to like Christian online, he's really, I mean, it's clear he's much better than his offline, but I think for him it was always he has a very weak mental. He rages a lot. He gets very tilt. He even had like a really fucked up tick where he like presses his caps lock when he gets nervous, and then he checks the light. Yeah, so he can see the light on his keyboard go on and off. And it was like a very big tick, and he starts like sometimes look even like 2-3 seconds down on his keyboard, not on the monitor, in the game at any given time.
That's an offer as well.
It was really crazy to me, like actually crazy to me. And you notice like also when he was playing online, it happened much more. So I think he had to struggle a lot with his mental. But His op was very disgusting. I mean, people said he was cheating. I remember, like, I never seen a player play scout back then in
he's
1.6,
sick, yes.
like very rarely.
Yeah,
But he was amazing with it, amazing. And there was one day, like on train, he ran out mid and killed like one guy back Ivy. Like he made it such an insane ace, and I thought like, holy fuck, who am I playing with? So, and yeah, I think it was fucking amazing, and a very, very good teammate. Very hardworking. He always goes on the server. Back in 1.6, you cannot just no clip around the map. You throw 2 grenades, you have to restart, and then start running again to the point. And we spent so many hours together on the server just figuring stuff out. And he was also very smart. Like he had good ideas. I think he was overall a very good player. That's why I think he's also very good with the rifle, because he understands the game, how to position himself, and how he has to take the duels.
One thing that's actually quite cool is you did actually play with a lot of the same. It reminds me of like football managers where they always bring the same people. You actually played with a lot of the same people throughout your career. So another person back then, but I'm guessing he also was quite different, maybe even as a player, was Tizian. People don't know Tizian was in this team, but I'm guessing he wasn't like the sort of support element people think of him big, right? He was a different player back then, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Today he's a very selfless player. Back then he was very selfish. He was like this really fragile mindset. He was young, very good aiming, and really, really. I think he was 14, and he was like already playing like with us in with these big guys. I would like not myself, but like Gopi or Romana, and it's a big thing if you do that. And with 14, he was very cocky. I think that's also was a good thing about him, because it was rough back then. A Gopi would flame you really hard, even if it's a 10-man or some other players, because they actually play to improve in these times. And yeah, but he didn't give a fuck. He focused on himself, and yeah, he just became very early really good. He was like he was similar to Tapson a little bit, but Tapson I think was just a faster learner. But Tizian had a better aiming, I would say.
When you started going to these lands in CSGO, because this was the beginning of CSGO, you got to play against the legendary NIP. What were they like?
It was amazing, actually. With Get Right, we used to play already like these IHL tournaments, so we knew each other a little bit, but you're fucking nervous. Like you cannot sleep. Like genuinely, you cannot sleep 3 days before the.
Right.
That's how excited you are, like to play on this event, and we already knew that we will have to play them, so. It's just an amazing feeling, but with a lot of poop in your pants in game.
Sure.
It's really a lot. It was different. It was different Counter-Strike. That's when I felt Counter-Strike in a different way. It was crazy. It was shaking and all these things, but yeah, we had an amazing time. Sadly, we lost both games. I think even we could have beaten them. It was us two, I remember. We could have beaten them.
To be fair, a lot of people lost
seriously, we could have.
Okay.
I'm genuinely serious. In this game, we could have. We lost many stupid, important rounds. Economy was not good, and yeah, they stumped us in the end.
You had a period in 2013 I wanted to ask you about, because when I look it up, it looks like before you got to Mouse, you were in all these different teams before then. You were in this team, and then this team, and this team. What was going on around this time? Were the teams just breaking up? Were you leaving teams and trying to hop to bigger ones? What was the situation?
I guess I can say I wanted to find the right team for myself, and I think Taps also didn't play like for a time, so I started like looking for another team. Like it's the first time I play in a different team with other people. Maybe experience that a little bit, gain some experience with it, and yeah, I guess that would. And also like in this time, many people didn't know, do they want to play? Some people like only wanted to play it like for the money, maybe.
Right.
Like it was a really, really weird time. Not everybody, you didn't know who really wants to do it, and especially like from all these old names, like teams like Aprox, Trouble. You want to play with them, but you don't know how serious are they going to be. Also, they're becoming older. People have to work, cannot really play full time, so it was a really hard time. I think that's why I think that happened. That I was like switching a lot of teams.
Even though, obviously, German CS was nowhere near its 1.6 peak at this time, it must be a big deal to win EPS Germany. That must have been cool.
Yes, of course. Sad it like had already the image that it's like a dead horse, kind of.
Right.
Very sad, but I didn't like really want to think about that, because like it was the biggest thing that you can achieve in German Counter-Strike, and that's what I wanted to do, and I did it. So yeah, it was a great moment for all of us, because nobody of us has ever done it. Everybody came like from the absolute bottom, from nowhere. We played each other up, never like learned anything big from other people, only that what you see when you play with them. So it was a great feeling. Very, very proud moment for me, I think.
I think on one of the Stratbook episodes, you actually told this story, but you almost made it into the first major. You went to that like BYOC at DreamHack, and the team you lost to was the one that had Cadian and AZ. So what happened here? Because it was like an overtime game or something. This must be heartbreaking, because if people don't know, that means he went to the event. It wasn't an online qualifier. He went with his PC, and there was just like one map from basically being in the major. Like that sounds brutal.
Yeah, I remember like it was with Mousebots. And we formed a team. I think it was Trouble, Tizzy and me, Tubson,
Christian and Crispy.
Yeah, Crispy. Yes, Tubson wasn't playing. And we drove actually with the car from Germany to Sweden in a bus. We had...
How long did that take? Like 15 hours or something ridiculous?
15, 14 hours, something like that. Yeah, with the ferry to Denmark, then through Denmark. And yeah, we went with the car there with 5 laptops. There was like, I think it was the first laptops that had like 120 hertz.
Okay.
I think, and we played on those, and it was like the Bring Your Own Computer tournament, which was really big back then in
DreamHack. Yes.
Many teams, and like many good teams, like mostly like mixed teams, but it's a very strong players play together, and yeah, it was the winner of this tournament will make it to the first major of Counter-Strike, and yeah, in the end we played them on Inferno. I think it was the last map, if I remember correctly, and yeah, we lost. It was a close game. Fuck, man, it was such a sad moment. You could have been part of the first big thing in CSGO, and you missed it. Actually, for this tournament, funny story, I had a job back then still when I was playing. And for this tournament, like I think 1 week before the tournament, I went to my boss and asked, hey, can I have for this week a weekend off? Because I used to work Saturdays as well. So I needed Friday and Saturday off. And he said, yes, no problem. And the day before the tournament, he tells me you have to come in. And what can I do? I quit.
You have to.
I quit the job. I had to go through a big thing, going to my parents, explain them everything. And then luckily my brother, who used to play also like way before this time, he knew that now I'm in Mousebots, so he went to my parents and told them, hey, I think you should just give him this time. He really is in the best German team, and you should just give him a year, and then you can make your conclusion. So yeah, I quit that job for this tournament, and that was even harder to swallow than the pill.
The funny thing is, even though now, like we've obviously esports has come so far, and when you were in teams like Big and NRG, you're flying around, you're in the proper hotel rooms. It's funny because even though like these stories are funny, I feel like everyone who's gotten through that era, in a weird way, you sort of look back nostalgically, and it's almost like fond how silly like having to go on an epic journey like that and having to get time. In a way, it's kind of cool. Don't you think back on the memories kind of fondly?
I cannot explain how much joy and pleasure and fun this gave to me. I went to 2 international lands back then. In 1.6, it was like the Game Dune, which was like in Spain.
Yes.
We drove from Germany to Netherlands to pick Christian up from Netherlands all the way to Spain to Bilbao, Game Dune. Best time of my life. And there is one part of the joy you cannot have, like I could never ever get again. Like this feeling, I don't know, it's very hard to describe, but I never got it regardless of if I play on a major in CSGO, which is like much bigger and much more prestige, but like experiencing it for the first time, amazing. Best time of my life.
And the funny thing is, after this, you actually got to play with Cadian. Like he was obviously in that team that you went when you got into the next major at Katowice. He was playing with you guys.
Yes, we actually picked him up afterwards because he had actually a very good game against us, and he was also the in-game leader for the team. So we needed an in-game leader, and then yeah, we picked him up.
Was he spicy back then? I think he was a bit, right?
Yeah. Very, very spicy. Many problems, I can tell you. Like the problem is he's a really good person. He's really a good person, but something in his head was wrong. Something. And it was very bad. Very bad. But he was always a lovely guy. Like, I never had anything bad against him, or he never made it really bad with me. He fucked up with some other people because he really messed up. But yeah, I mean, he was also very young.
Oh, sure.
Very young. He also probably was like, got a little ego. He played on the major. He beat us. So maybe he thought like, who are you? Kind of. Maybe. I don't know. I cannot tell. But I can imagine it being a factor.
As I say, you guys got to play at the first like proper Katowice. If people don't know, this was when people first experienced like the Spore Deck and that bigger, and it was like when this is when CSGO, in my opinion, really got to the next level. Like if you looked at DreamHack Winter, it was just DreamHack plus that tournament over here. Like if you ever saw where I was just on like a booth off the side. It wasn't like this with a big stage and crowd. And the only thing is though, even though I want to know what it was like, bro, when I go and look now from your perspective in Mouse, you have the most insane group ever to get drawn into, because think about it, this is back, guys, when there were those 4 team groups. So this is the people he got. He got Titan, the #1 team in the world. You got Virtus Pro, who we all know wins this event and wrecks everyone. And then the third team was Hellraisers, which was actually pretty good back then, with like Dorsey and stuff. Like, this is impossible, dude. This is an insane group.
It was impossible, pretty much. I think we even, I don't remember the results really, but I think against Titans, it was a bit closer, maybe. And I think we could have maybe won that game also. And who was the other game? Was it
Hellraisers?
Hellraisers, right? And then we were out. Yeah. I don't know. We were not good enough at that time. So if we would have made it, it would be some fucking crazy miracle run. Chris J dropping 40, Thompson destroying. Like everybody just being absolutely on point. But yeah. And also back then, like the fact that they had like so much more experience than us,
sure.
It was a big. It was a big factor back then, much bigger than it is today. I think.
In these early days, because it was later that year that the team started to get the results, but in these early days where you go into the lands, but it's like kind of like that's all you do. You just go there and you come out last place, or you go out in the group stage and you have to watch the tournament. Did it ever make you doubt yourself or wonder like, am I going to make it? Did it inspire you? What was the vibe when you would have these disappointments?
Oh, I think I was always a player. I had to be always true to myself. I knew I was not good enough at that time.
Right.
I knew it. But for me, the most important thing is, like, everything I did in my career, for the most part, obviously I learned also from others, but I climbed myself up. It's not like I got somebody like holding my hand, like go beat it like at one point in my career. I never had somebody like that, so I knew I was able to get even better. But also I have to say, like, becoming really to the top, like, let's say being the first or second best team in the world, was way too hard for if you're a German player. And also it was not like a big thing. I think even we were almost the only team who was like playing actually international team.
Right.
I don't remember any other team who was like playing in English. So yeah, it was very hard, like making a roster, getting like even better players, upgrading your roster, very hard at that time. So it's like, and it was almost impossible to beat teams like VP, Titan, whoever it was, Fnatic. They were just too good, way too experienced, and they will just eat you alive on LAN. Online, we could have upset some teams. I think we even beat like Titan when they were in their prime, and online we could have beaten them, but offline it was different level.
Because one thing that's quite cool, if people don't know, is one of the lands where you made a playoff run was this first big Gfinity, the one that Gfinity G3 one in the copper box. And you guys made it to the playoffs and you played. And if people don't know, a piece of trivia, this was the first event, the team you played, that the brand new, the Fnatic everyone knows of, like Olaf, Crims. That was the first land they actually played. And you had like a 2-1 series that was like close with them, bro. Like, this is kind of cool. Yeah. Like, you were like, I think that was like an OT to lose the game as well. You must feel like you're getting to another level when you have a match like that, right?
Yes, of course, and also you learn a lot from these tournaments that you like lost before. You really learn a lot, and back then, like we studied so many of our games. It was crazy, and everybody was like on the same page. That's why we always played throughout our career, always together. Like we always only change one player because he has to stop because of work or he gets a different offer, and we worked so hard. It was really crazy. Everybody was on the same page. We just wanted to become better, and yeah, we grinded our way up. I mean, at one point we reached our limit, I think, as a team, and yeah.
Here's the thing. Look, I'll, as a gesture of peace and friendship, since we've changed our relationship over the years, I'll just point out, because it's a cool piece of trivia. If you look on the scoreboard for that match, it's a full best of 3 with all the rounds. This is actually the year before. If people remember, Olaf Meister got insane. He was actually more of like a role player in this for that. But people don't know, in this series, Olaf Meister did really badly. He only had 39 kills over 3 maps. Legia, 63 kills.
Actually,
Yeah, for real. For real. You can look it up. Just saying. That happened on land, guys. That happened on land.
I was much better back then than I was like towards the end of my career. But I think it's because back then I had way more freedom than I had like towards the end, and like when it became really professional, especially with Gobi, everything became like more roles kind of. You're the guy like who supportive role. You stay back a little bit. You support Tapson. If Tapson has only 3.3k, he drops your UMP and you drop him the AK. Like people don't understand how many times I had to drop an AK, which I like. He never requested it. I always gave it for myself because I want to win. I will do everything it takes to win, and I know that he's better individually than me. I know I can support better than him. So why do I not do it? So. Yeah, I think I was way better individually before than towards the end of my career.
And also, since, as you say, this was actually the era where Mouse Sports was always an international team, this is the one where you had Alu in, if people don't know. This actually, so what was Alu like? Yeah, by the way, there's another fucking really crazy person, right?
I knew he was crazy in his head, like already from TeamSpeak. But the moment I met him, this guy, I don't know, zero emotions in him, zero. He just looks always the same, whether he's happy or sad, doesn't matter. Extremely nice humor, Finnish humor, crazy, very, very easy, a lot of cursing. So, absolutely amazing person to have. Absolutely amazing person to have. Really genuine guy, also fucking funny, always funny during the game. Doesn't matter what the score is, he will always like. I don't even know if it's intentional or not, but he will somehow always make you happy. I don't know if it's like intentional or not, but yeah, and really good player, really, really good player. Very dangerous Oppa. He didn't really play the game at all. Absolutely not. But I think he was like similar to Oscar, I think. Maybe I would say Oscar was a little bit better.
Right.
But like the style of play, how they had, it was very similar to Oscar. And yeah, there was many games that he carried us in. Many actually. Cool guy to have, really good person to have in your team. Maybe not like that hardworking as you wish him to be, but he always performed, so I guess you could always say okay.
Later this year was the year when you got in, Gobi and really young Nico played a little bit. If people remember, he went to like that ESEA with you guys. Like, give me these two sides, because obviously if people don't know, without making a whole political thing, calm down, everyone. I know Nico always has the Bosnian flag, but as far as I know, his family's like Serbian ethnicity or something, right? It's why he's obviously with the Serbian players in the team. And then, so I imagine you had some sort of connection there in some degree, right? Or knew him from that scene. And then on God B, I mean, God B's a legend, right? You said yourself you looked up to him. What was it like to be with these two players? It must be very interesting. It's kind of exciting, right?
Very, very. I mean, about Nico, we didn't know that much. Like, I knew him briefly, like from playing like a little bit online against each other. But I knew that he was very, very talented. Like, he was already like 14. I know, like 14, I think in 1.6 it was even, when he like destroyed everything. Right. Destroyed. And then he started playing CSGO. He grinded a lot back then. And I saw one, I think there was like a nationals tournament for like nations, like Serbia, Germany, whatever. And I think that's where I saw him first time play with his team. So yeah, I spoke with Lance back then, our manager, that I think we should pick him up because we needed a new player at that time. And yeah, he joined the team. He was a very shy little kid, very different than he is today. But yeah, he was. You could see that this guy will be amazing at one point if he just keeps grinding and keeps giving his best. And about Gobi, we played already. Like we were like already friends before he joined the team. That's also how it happened. He did not play a lot at all CS:GO. That was a big problem, but I think we were ready to give him the time, I guess, to improve, to get back into the game and like learn the mechanics and all the other things. It was a big question mark. He doubted himself also a little bit because I think when he joined our team, he had maybe 1,000 hours in CS:GO.
Okay.
Whereas like other people already had like 6,000, 5,000, 7,000. It's like big difference. And it's not like he's just starting like somewhere below. It's like the highest thing that we can play. So, but yeah, I think we knew that he's that smart or that good as a player that he will adapt very fast to the game and like still always bring impact to the game. If it's not shooting, then we know that he will still like do a lot for the team, be a very good in-game leader, learn a lot about the other team, do great anti-strats. And yeah, I think it was the best decision I think in my career, just because I have learned so much from this guy. It's unbelievable.
That answer might probably shock people because, again, if people don't know like what happened to the early CSGO period, they probably just assume, oh, Gobi played 1.6, came in CSGO, now he's in, this team gets good. But as you say, even though in 1.6 he was the mastermind and he's the guy who's in the demos with all the unique things and the crazy feel for the game, I imagine if you haven't played the game much, like you say, I imagine he had his own identity crisis. Like, am I even Gobi anymore? Like, what was it like when he was first in CSGO? He didn't have a feel for the meta in the same way?
He grinded a lot, and he played so much or he worked so hard that it became like actually unhealthy for him.
Right.
But he was so driven because for him it was always either I go all in or I quit. That's why he also quit like in 1.6 very early. He didn't want to like do this half kind of thing. If I commit, I commit. If not, I don't want to fuck over my team and myself pretty much. So he played a lot. I think he improved also super fast. I mean, individually, you already knew he's not gonna be great. You knew it, and we were also aware of that because he was also old at the time. He didn't play Counter-Strike for 4 years, I think, which is a lot. So, yeah, I think easily best decision of my life. He was just amazing, and like you learn so much about like how an actual professional behaves because he was like at the top already in Counter-Strike 1.6, so he knew how to approach things, and we were like all these noobs still trying to figure out how things work, and then it's like so many things coming into your head, and you're just so excited, and it gave like a big spark also for the team in motivation.
Right, I know
to be able to play with him.
I know later that year, you eventually weren't in Mouse anymore. And eventually, Gobi actually got kicked out, if people don't know. And that's famously when Nico actually took over as IGL because there was no one left. Do you know the story? What happened? Why did Gobi get kicked out? It's always a mystery, right?
I think him and Nico had like a lot of talks with each other because Nico was like already like this. In Mouse Sports, it was like where his career actually started. Like he proved himself like on big tournaments. He became a very big name. Who's this guy? Very talented. So he became like an ego, I would say. He was very young, 17, I think, at this time. So he became a huge ego. He thought he's the king of the world, I guess. Which I mean, he could say, I guess, at this time. He would. That's how good he was. And Gopi didn't play good enough in his opinion. And for a guy like Nico who never like really experienced like how to play Counter-Strike in a very structured way, he was never this type of guy probably in his old teams.
Yeah.
So maybe it was like something he didn't really like or he wasn't comfortable with. He wants to play much more loose because with Gobi it's like a lot very, very strict. You have to always play together, don't overpeak, whatever. So maybe that was the issue for Nico, and he just wanted to play more loose.
What about Legia? Why was Legia not in Mouse Sports anymore?
Legia was an idiot. Legia met his girlfriend back then, and I think he started to slack a little bit, didn't put the time in it that he had. And there was a big, big learning experience actually for me. I think that's also where kind of the path downhill went a bit for me at this time. I don't know. I just didn't play enough the game. I didn't work as hard as I did before, just because I wanted to spend time with her. And yeah, I think that was the biggest problem. And then the CEO, I don't even think it was the team's decision. I think the CEO, there was two CEOs. There was Yilmaz and there was Cengiz. Yilmaz is the guy who founded Mousesports and now Big. And Cengiz was like a guy who came later a bit in it. And yeah, he wanted me out. He didn't think I was good enough. So yeah, that's how it happened.
After this, you briefly were in that Planet Key Dynamics team where another player that you'd meet is obviously really young Sirison, right? This is like way before everyone knows him. So it was young Sirison.
I didn't know anything about Sirison really. I knew he came from Source, and he was like, at this time it was like still the Source bubble is for themselves and the 1.6 bubble is for themselves. So you don't really talk to each other at all. And I don't think even that we played much against each other, because I don't even know if they played the EPS in CSGO. But yeah, I had really no idea about him. But when I met him, he was actually a very funny guy, because he's from East Germany. So they have always this very funny humor, and it was nice to play with him. And he was a decent player, actually, to be fair.
Sure. Right. After this, the big adventure that sort of turned your career around was when God B got kicked out, you and him went and joined NRG. I know people are going to think NRG, it was a North American team. It was the one that famously had it's where that meme where when Shaq owned the team, everyone asked him, you remember on camera, just 9N join your team. You remember Shaq didn't have any clue. He was you could tell he didn't know anything. Yeah, fair enough. But how did this deal come together? People don't know. You and God B and Tabson went over to America, and you were living in, wasn't it Vegas or something? Were you in somewhere like that?
First we were in Vegas and then in LA. 6 months.
And I've heard it was hardcore. I heard you guys just used to practice all the time.
Yeah, of course. What else do we have to do? We move, I don't know how many miles, 8,000 miles or 8,000 kilometers across the globe to play professional Counter-Strike. And it was also the first time American money and European money back then was wow difference.
Yes, that way more.
Wow difference. And I can say it's no big deal for me, but in Mousesports, my highest salary was €500, and that's where I was already playing on the top, I would say. So, and NRG was then a completely different story.
What was it actually like to have this adventure? Was there was there pressure from the org that you had to succeed, or what was the vibe?
The owner, for me, how it happened actually is I had a very short time where I was coaching Nihilum in CSGO. There was a team with Samphis, Balance, Automatic, and two other guys. I don't know. By the way,
we'll come back to that later. I figured what we'll do is we'll do the coaching stuff separate. But yeah, you obviously did that in America first, right? Yeah, you were over there, right?
Yeah, just because I had no money, I needed a job, and that happened. And that's how I met the owner from NRG.
Right.
It linked me somehow to him. And then I asked him, because at this time also, I think there was this big new thing happening. All the I don't know, Echo Fox came, so many big names all of a sudden joined
the League of Legends orgs,
Yes, that was exactly in that period. That's why also NRG happened. And yeah, I spoke to the owner. I suggested him that myself and Gopi are looking for a team, and that we would be willing to move to North America. And yeah, that's how it happened. It became so fast, because it was, first of all, Mo approached Gobi if he wants to join. I don't know if it was TSM. I cannot remember. It was
Echo Fox, wasn't it? Wasn't
Echo Fox, maybe. Yeah, Echo Fox, actually. Yes. To join Echo Fox. And that's how GOP also became all of a sudden in this North American thing. We were not even talking with each other at this time.
Right.
We didn't know about it. And then, all of a sudden, like our names came together. I spoke to him, he spoke to me. He said, let's go, let's do it. And we had like a choice of teams that we could have joined. I think we could have joined 3 different teams, but Energy was the coolest. The owner was super nice, was really fun always talking to him. They were super fair. The conditions were amazing. Amazing. We had a huge house in Las Vegas. Absolutely, like the dream for a player, kind of. And it was also like, I think I was, myself and Gob were the first guys who ever did that, maybe. Like going from Europe to play full-time in North America. I cannot remember correctly, but I think it was like, there was not many other players doing that. So it was like also a new thing, sacrificing a lot. And yeah, it was amazing. Amazing. Very good time.
By the way, a random detail, just because obviously I used to do the show by the numbers back then regularly, but I remember Richard said he actually went to your team house a few times and he like saw you practice and you guys, etc. Because he actually obviously lived in Vegas when he did E-League and stuff. So was he someone around? Did he know you guys? What was the deal?
He actually came very often to our house. I think like there was like a span of 2 months where pretty much almost every day came to our house, hanging out together. Chill. We were practicing. He was watching, doing his thing a little bit, watching TV, and I think he also knew the league of the Energy owner.
Oh, sure.
So I think that's also how it happened, maybe. But yeah, he watched us practice. We had good talks with him. It was good times. Good times. Because I was always amazing with Richard Lewis. Like I always liked him. He's for me, really amazing person. Always fair and cool. So it was good.
Because he's the one who told me the story that sadly made my heart drop. Because I was a really big fan of God being 1.6. Because I always tell people, he wasn't just a mastermind. He was really fucking good at fragging. He was actually like a star player too. And unfortunately, in CSGO, he was obviously never that type of fragger. And the reason my heart dropped is Richard told me when he went and watched you all practice, he said that it's not from lack of trying though. He said God B was trying so hard to be good again. He said like after you finished all the scrims and all the demos, he said God B would just sit there playing hours of deathmatch, hours of, and so the problem is if you know this and then the guy's still like that sick, it's like, well, there's no hope, is there? Like all you can do is practice as much as possible. Like it's kind of true, right? In CSGO, he wasn't the same player as 1.6, was he?
Absolutely not. In 1.6, he was actually a really good fragger also, like very good fragger. The good thing is about him, he would have been way worse if he didn't play that much as he did. He would have even been much worse, like way more inconsistent. To be fair, Fatih had games where he actually didn't play that bad.
Okay.
He had some good, important rounds, and also like with this guy, mostly what you get from him. Like he has to win your X on X rounds, like be smart in those clutch moments, and that's what we knew we will always get from him, and just lead us as a leader. So yeah, but it shows just how dedicated this guy is. It just shows how dedicated he is. Like he really, I remember. After practice, we chill a bit, eat a bit maybe, and then he turns on his fucking Britney Spears playlist on, like Britney Spears song was in the list, like Backstreet Boys,
and pop music, right? Okay.
Yeah, all these songs, and then he just blasts music and just plays deathmatch. And I remember like he always had like these. There was also a funny gag in our group. He always played against JKS at night, deathmatch, and he could never beat him. And always when he beats him, he comes fucking proud and says, guys, I just destroyed JKS on deathmatch. And he always said like JKS is so fucking good. He's amazing. He's insane. So it was like always a funny thing with him when he had his duels with these guys. Yeah. He was very, very hard trying. But I think he reached his cap at one point. I don't think like the moment you lose your aiming or you don't play individually well, it's like maybe 2% of the people can make it back to like the old performance. Yeah, that's what I think.
If someone goes back and looks, as I said on that joke about Shaq, the problem is the American players in this team just weren't famous players. They were just like, there's a gamble to take these players in. If you don't know, it's the guy Justin, and then there's the player Silent, if people remember, right? We're not dissing them. They obviously never went on to do anything big. They weren't like top players. Like, a lot of people won't know these names. Who were these guys though? And what was the logic? Because if this team had money, why not sign bigger names? Why not get like some stars or some famous American player?
I genuinely cannot tell you that. We didn't know much about them. Like Silent, I coached Splice, I think. I don't remember what team he played for. I coached him for one tournament, and Justin also. and then they made like they qualified for something I don't remember. I helped them with that, and that's maybe the connection. I don't really remember correctly, but I think I wanted Silent because I thought he was good from the games that I've seen him. But yeah, maybe it was just a live match, I guess. But and Justin, I think, was always playing with Shroud. He was like mechanically very good.
Right.
Like he had always good aiming. Like he was already known in the scene a little bit as this like puck player. So yeah, that's how it happened, I guess. And many teams, many players were also like given. Like Splice had like some okay players. Then Echo Fox, TSM, Strong Garrus was gone. Like all these guys were already gone.
Obviously, NRG didn't have that many crazy results, but there is a famous one because I was there, and it was in Balkan region. It was in Croatia at Counterpit, where, by the way, is a random aside detail. That's by the way, at the time, by the way, even though I'm British, like we don't really give a fuck about small parts of the world, right? I knew nothing about the whole like Balkan conflict, and I always tell this story. It's only when I went to that event because I was walking around with Janko, who's obviously Serbian, and then all these kids kept shouting stuff to him in Croatian, I guess, but whatever. It's similar language, isn't it? Right? When they were shouting stuff, I was going to Janko, what are they shouting? Because I'm thinking they're shouting stuff like, "Hey, give us an autograph or something." And he just said basically, they're just shouting at me in Croatian, like, "Janko, you're a pussy." Like, I was like, "What the fuck? What's the beef over CS? What the fucking hell?" So anyway, at this event, like, gives you a sense of what, and it's the event also, by the way, guys, where the guy did the put your cans in the air and like it's going to be a bloody one, which is probably the most cringe shit of all time. But the other thing is, this event had a banger match for you guys because you played against Envious. This is when they had that player Devil. But if you remember, guys, the previous year they were the major winners. They were actually the reigning major champions at the time, and you guys beat them. This was actually like a massive upset at the time. Like everyone was like, "What? You remember this match?"
Absolutely. So first of all, going to this LAN, that was like the worst thing of my life happened. I think we were in the airplane, and like after 5 hours, like from San Francisco, I think, to Frankfurt, 13 hours, I believe. And we're in the airplane, and after 4 hours, 5 hours maybe, I say to PTR, "Hey, let's go to the toilet quickly, shake our legs off a little bit." And we were like all the way in the airplane, all the way in the back, and it was like a double plane, so in the back there are the stairs, and we just sit like for 5 minutes.
Oh, this is where you got injured. I remember this. Yeah, go on. Tell me the story. Come on. Fucking hell.
Yeah, and then after 5 minutes, we said, "Okay, let's go back." We just about to go to our seats, and you know, like where the toilets are and the stewardesses, like where they store their food and all these things. There's like a small hallway. We were just in between that. And like the airplane drops in the back, like in an air hole. I think it's an air hole.
Right.
And yeah, how it feels is like the airplane goes beneath you, you're in the air, and then it hits your legs from below again. And I reacted some fast. Maybe I was lucky, and like I held myself against the walls. But Pete dropped down, and all of a sudden I hear like somebody shouting, like crazy. I look down, his foot is like hanging like this around, so he broke his foot on the airplane. And the more as I go down to him to help him, like just to check on him, we drop in another air hole, and I get smacked by the airplane in my head. It was actually so bad. And then like that became turbulences, and I don't know, I don't want to lie, but I genuinely believe Peter would be dead, and I would be also dead if I wouldn't react how I reacted in that moment.
Right.
It was so heavy. The turbulences were so heavy, and like I jumped on Pete. I pushed my ass against one wall and my knees against the other wall. It's shaking. The stewardess is looking at me. She's shouting. I panic. She's panicking. It was like the worst moment of my life, genuinely. So yeah, then Pete obviously with the broken leg has to fly another 7 hours. That was a horrible time. Absolutely in pain. All they gave him is like a paracetamol, I think. That's not gonna help, mate.
Sure.
So, yeah, what are we gonna do? Pete cannot play. Then we left Pete in Frankfurt, called Tapson instantly from the airport. "You need to come." He comes to the airport directly within like 3 hours, I think. He was our stand-in then at the tournament. And yeah, we played against Envy. And he played amazing. I remember
Tapson carried,
he was fucking insane, like holy fuck insane. And yeah, it was very good feeling. It was sad a bit that that they already started losing like a little bit their spot as like the team that they were, because yeah, as you said, they won the major, and like people were flaming like this devil guy. He became like a meme a little bit, so it took a little bit away from that, but very good feeling. And yeah, Thompson was amazing this game, I remember.
Even though, like I say, there wasn't too many results in an RG, one thing that was cool though is because you were in this North American org, a lot of people forget this detail about E-League here, which is it wasn't actually like a tournament like ESL Cologne where you invite the rankings. It was essentially more like American sports concept. It was actually the orgs they wanted to invite. So the point is, your org, because NRG is a big esports org at this time, they have League of Legends also. Your org was one of the teams that was in E-League. So even though it wasn't like you didn't do awesome or whatever, I can tell you that was a very unique experience, because it was another one where if you do that tournament, you get to like stay in Atlanta for a week or two whenever you're playing, etc. It's obviously, I think that first one took like a month or month and a half or something. It was quite a long time. It wasn't just like a 4-day tournament or whatever, like Counterpay, or 3 days or something. So what was the experience of this like? Obviously being on TV, right?
That was, I think, the biggest part. Like like what Americans do very well is they hype you up very good, especially if it's like related to TV, I would say, because it's like what they mainly focus on. And you also notice it always, like as a player, it was always more like the show that they were interested in rather than anything else. But it was the first time it happened ever in like Counter-Strike that something like this will be like on North American television, and like so many big names are involved, like Shaq and all these people are helping like with the commercials. So it was very, very hype, I think. And yeah, it was. If I was in Europe, there was no chance I would be part of this. No chance, pretty much. But North America made it possible for me because, yeah, NRG was a big name, and yeah, it was very, very, very good feeling. And the tournament was amazing. Like all the production and the moment, like I remember when we had the first shooting, like the equipment they had was from a different world. And you see it like it was actually in the building where like
inside the NBA.
Many TV shows, the NBA, TNT.
Yep.
It was amazing. Completely new experience in my life, or in my career, I guess.
Did your parents ever watch one of the TV broadcasts? Was it cool to see on TV? Did they get it?
Yeah, of course. We have like satellites here, so they watched both of the games. I think we only had 2 games, and yeah, very proud moment, I guess, for them.
Yeah.
I mean, they always watched my games. Like,
right.
They never really missed games, but it was a different feeling. You notice also, then she calls your grandma, your aunt, then all these people. Hey, he's on television. He's on television. It was a cool feeling. It's another, like, especially when it's like so hard to, when you have parents who are like a little bit more strict, and you have to like really convince them, and you always have to perform. You cannot have like 3 months no money. It's a good feeling. Like it takes a lot of pressure away from off your shoulders to see them happy and proud.
How, after this, did that team break up? Because after that, people will know UGOB and Tabson later go and make big, and then that becomes its own adventure. But why did NRG end?
We had the choice to stay. They wanted us 3, but they wanted 2 different players, like have PTR out and Fugly at this time. And we had then the other option. It was like the old founder of Mousesports, who we already knew, this Yilmaz guy, and Lens, our manager. They started like talking a little bit with each other, and like got this idea. Hey, CSGO is becoming very big. Yilmaz wanted to go out from Mousesports, and that's how they like started talking. Let's make a new organization, and it came like all of a sudden. And then, okay, how do we do it? What can we do? Okay, we have to, if we make it, then we have to make the best team. If we do it, we make it the right way. And myself, Gop, and Thompson were like probably in Germany the best players at this time, and like a very good core for them to have, because they know us very well, obviously, and they knew that we can build something very good, I think. And that's how it started. Then they asked Gopi, should we do it? Then he was thinking, he asked us, and then that's how it happened. I had to find 2 more players. We knew Nex from his time in Mousesports already, that he's very, very good player that he can help us on. Actually, I think he was even probably the best player in Germany besides Tapson. Besides Tapson, so yeah. And then Keith was the only AWPer really whoever did something on a LAN tournament back then. So yeah, we picked him up. I think he was even the best player on the ESWC. I mean, it was not the best ESWC anymore, but he was the best rated player in the whole tournament. So he showed that he can play, I guess.
What about the thing with Nexus? I actually agree with you. I think the problem is if people only watched like the big lands, you'd actually think this guy wasn't that good. You'd be like, oh, he's a bit up and down, you know. Like he's one of those people where if you ever watched like a POV of his, man, he's fucking had really good skills. Like he should have been actually a real star player. Like, but he just had some sort of like issue on LAN or something, or he had some weird psychological issue. What was the issue? Do you think?
I wish I would have known by today. But he was, I don't know how you call even these people. Like he has very, very big mood swings. Like
Right.
he became from being absolutely normal, like absolute regular guy, talking, laughing, searching for conversations. Like 5 minutes later, you don't talk to him, you go back to him, and he's completely different, just completely different. And I mean, we understood it as a team already that he has these mood swings, and we are not stupid. We understand when we leave him, when we have to leave him alone, or when he's in mood to do something together. But yeah, I think in game he always tried his hardest in practice, especially. He always played. He was never late. He played also a lot outside of practice, so that was also a good thing about him. Yeah, I really it was only his mentality that fucked him, and I have a read, but I don't know if it's true, but he always thought he's way worse than he actually is.
Oh wow, okay.
And that's why he was so like. I think that made him actually like going like in this quiet mode or whatever when he misses a frag. Like the moment if he has 2 rounds where he doesn't kill anyone, good luck.
Right.
Yeah, that's the moment you have to start praying already. Yeah,
Right.
because he had games where he, like I remember this one ESWC, we played against like Zaivu, I think it was his first tournament. I promise you, in these 2 maps or 2 games that we had, maybe a total of 25 words for the whole tournament. But he was that good that you don't want to replace him. And he, like outside of the tournaments, he was always absolutely normal, just a normal guy, never any issues. And like we tried always like talking with him about it. He was not like disagreeing with it or anything. He knew that it that is a problem for him, but he also could not tell us what's bothering him. Maybe he didn't want to. I don't know that, but that's what he always said. So yeah, we tried everything with him to make him happy. But yeah, it was, I think, only in his own head.
One of yeah, go on.
When we talk about his skill, it was wow, like wow. He's the guy who will win you games by himself. If all your players are not like really hitting properly, he will win you the game because he will just somehow make like 35 frags. We called him always the turret. Like if you put him like on heaven, on overpass, and they rush B the enemies, it doesn't matter. Flashes are coming in. This guy doesn't care. He's just standing there, and somehow he will make a 3K every time. I think he was the best like anchor player in the world online. Insane.
One of the first results this team had was where you went to that German DreamHack Leipzig, where it was more like tier 2 teams, but there was a couple of good teams. Obviously, Blades Flipside was there when they had Electronic. There was Heroic, which was Snappy and Valdit, so it was already good. You guys beat Heroic, you made it to the final, lost to Flipside. Was this, by the way, anytime you have land success in Germany, I'm sure it's a big deal, right?
Amazing. For us, it was the whole thing with Big, how it happened and how it went. It was like the first 2 years, it just went like it could not get better. like really, if you write it in a book, it will not look different like the story that we had. And like then the first tournament that we played was in DreamHack Leipzig, German fan base, new team, the new hope of German Counter-Strike, because German Counter-Strike was dead. There was maybe like Alternate, but Alternate had also nothing. They were maybe like tier 3 at best. So we gave like this like hope for Germany, and that's why like we had so much hype, and the experience that we had, like really low-key, it felt like you're a star a little bit. That's the first time you felt like a star, because the whole nation is now looking at you. Back then it was nobody gave a fuck if you play EPS, nobody cared, but CS became now also that popular, and it was a new thing for Germany. So it was amazing, and playing in front of this crowd, also beating many teams, and you make it to the final. Obviously, if you would have won the final against Flipside, did we lose to?
Yeah,
would be amazing. But yeah, it was really a beautiful experience, and I think it also helped like the organization a lot, because at this time, I'm not gonna name any numbers, but we had basically no sponsoring money.
Sure.
Like the first year of Big, also everybody played for no salary.
Oh wow.
For example, yeah, we lived with nothing. Obviously, like we had an apartment, we lived all together. The owner's wife always cooked every single day for us, fresh food, brought it to the house. So everything we really needed got taken care of by them. So that was also very good, and yeah, I know it was great, really great time.
I mean, that's one thing you've always told me as well. Is like, it's another reason actually people don't know when they tell Tabson just leave Big or whatever. Another reason he won't do it is because a lot of these players of this era, like you said, they kind of made it almost like, because they didn't have the money, they made it like a family vibe, and it was about German CS as well, right? There's a bit like that too, right?
It was family vibe. It really was. It was not like thinking that it is or whatever. We lived and breathed everything we did for Counter-Strike, also like with our two owners, their wives, both their kids. Like it was, I cannot explain like how this feeling was. Like you feel good, and they made sure that you can only focus on the game. The atmosphere within the team was amazing. We were like really like brothers. Me, Taps, and Gopi obviously knew each other. Keith and Nex really were like the perfect fit for the team. Every day, all day, we spent together. Even you have to imagine after, when we had breaks, we went together on vacation.
Oh,
that's
wow.
That's how good friends we were. And that's how much like we enjoyed each other's company, and that's why I also think like in this 1 year where we lived together and had this nice time with each other, that's when we improved everybody like 500%. 500. Like we became insane. We were so bad as players, like myself and Gopi, we were not individually good, but the system that we played, how we played it, how much thought we put into the game, like talking for hours after practice, sitting in a room and talking about the scrims. I had problems holding cobblestone drop, for example, go B. Everybody gives input. What can you do? Did you do this? Did you do that? At one point, he became the best drop player in the world almost. Like, you never needed to help him. He will always make his kill. He will never get outplayed. He will never just die from grenades. Just the best player. And that's how we all improved each other by a margin, just by talking.
Another story I actually told on one of those episodes of Stratbook that we did, so I'll tell it here again, because it just actually made me realise this is a story you and God B actually told me years later at that like CS Summit, if you remember, years later when we all met up and I was there, where it was the story that in the game you guys used to have that thing, which I'm not even trolling. This actually was quite unique. Not many people had this. You had this thing where it was God B from 1.6, when they would throw the flashbang, you just say bang when the flash goes off, so that way the guy running doesn't have to look or take the time. He just knows when it goes that. And if people don't know, this is why I brought it up on that Stratbook episode. If you go and you watch modern day vlogs of Carrigan where he shows the comms, he does that because he played under God B and Mousespot. So that's just like one small thing, but I think it's a good example of like, you guys weren't just playing the normal game. You were like looking for all the ledges and all the little things and trying to be creative, right?
It was because we knew we could not win out any other way. We cannot. We cannot. And also, if you play like this way that we used to play, it's at one point like teams can only like always just rewatch your games. They will see our execute. So we always have to constantly change our execute, find balances. Like it was so much work to make it even able to like play this system that we have. Like Fnatic, for example, you can throw them like in a room and they will just, without practice, they play maybe 2 scrims a day. They will still make it to top 4 just because they're really good 5 individual players. And yeah, for us it was completely different, and we put so much thought into the game. Like our flashes, I say confidently, no other team was that good with grenades like our team. Like absolutely no chance. I think.
I mean, if people don't know, Lagia, this is before the GOAT Astralis did all that stuff for utility. You guys were like one of the first teams to actually focus on this, right?
100%. No team in the world was as good as us, and I think myself and Gopi were the best in that regard. Like understanding of how to support your entry. When do you have to flash? What timings do you have to have? When have reads where the opponents are standing? Like it was, I think, really genuinely a different level, and that's why I think myself and him remained also like in the best team in Germany, I would say, because people knew our value. Because we got a lot of shit from outside. They're bad. They're not performing. Always 0.9 KD or rating, whatever. But the players in the team knew how much impact we bring to the team. So, and we also never had doubt like we get replaced or anything like that.
Were you actually yourself trying to be sort of like a secondary caller or something within this team?
Yeah, I always was. For me, I knew always like my role in the team, or like as a person. I know I was always the rock of the team. Always, like if my mood is bad, I know I will make the team's whole mood bad. If the team's mood is bad, I have to make sure that it gets better. Outside of the game, I always try to have like all people together, like don't split or like have groups inside the team or whatever. So it was like these were like my, I think, best attributes from outside of the game. So I focused a lot on that, and inside the game, always the supportive role, always.
Right, one thing, we'll actually get to some of this later, but one thing I want to ask now, since you're talking about your game and you were admitted you weren't that good, etc. If you remember, one of the things I used to flame you for, if we ever did a big game, was like, you did used to fuck around and be the secondary AWPer and think you could like AWP people. And you used to think you were good, right? Come on, tell me, you thought you were good.
Okay, second AWPer. I used to play AWP in 1.6.
Okay.
I used to be an AWPer my whole life in 1.6 actually, until the moment Christian came. And beginning of CSGO, I was also AWPing. I genuinely was not that bad.
All right.
And there was also like a meta in the game where it was like good to have sometimes secondary AWPers. Right. We didn't have anyone else. Tapson should not do it, or wouldn't be smart. Gopi could not do it, and then next you don't want him to do it. So if, let's say Train, for example, sometimes it's good to have an AWP on Ivy. I'm holding Ivy, so I have to balance my game a little bit, make it more difficult for my opponent, that he has to be afraid sometimes of an AWP. So I had to. It's not that I think I was like the Kenny S of AWPers.
I'm sure the tournament in this story that turns everything around was this European minor for the Krakow one. It was the one where the minor was actually in Romania, so it actually worked. Because this is the one where I actually think if anyone goes back and looks, this is one of the most wide open minors ever. Like most of the teams there are actually pretty good. Like there's a lot of like different squads, you know. And your team actually just shocked the whole world because you didn't lose a single map. You just aced the event 8-0 and went to the major. It's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, like this is also the time where we hit our peak 100%. Like we were so good at the game, like together as a team. It was mind blowing, and I tell you, we went into every game with the mind. We cannot lose. This is how it like. Really, it felt like this. We cannot lose, regardless how bad we are playing. Doesn't matter. We cannot lose. We are so good right now, and this was like at the time like our absolute peak. Like we went to this event. Like when we qualified for the major, we will win it. I tell you, if you beat Immortals, we win the tournament. 100%. Like Gambit was beatable, VP was beatable. I really believe we could have won this tournament.
Well, let me ask
Just
you
how good we are.
let me ask you the first question, because obviously one of the most famous things, this event has that iconic picture where all the people stood around like, what's going on in this? Because famously, you guys did. You 3-0'd the Swiss system, but famously, you kept playing Inferno, and you were the only team for some reason who knew this stupid little thing where you could tap crouch and you would just jump over the like thing. And basically, because the other teams didn't know it, it was just like hidden tech. Like it was just working against all the best teams. Like this must have been kind of crazy because, like you say, it wasn't like everyone just fragged everyone's heads off. It was kind of like you had an edge on everyone. And famously, they all met up to try and be like, "Ban this! Stop that! Stop them doing it! It's a bug." You remember? Give me the story on this.
First time how it happened is me and Gopi. I think it was even in NA still. We were in the house together, and I was like on cash, and we were like looking for grenades or whatever on the server, and like in middle, like on short, you have like this big box with the coil below it.
Yeah.
Where the AWPer was like standing peeking down mid, and I was like crouching under the coil, and like you get kind of stuck, so you cannot like stand up, and I just pressed space, and like I could see the whole mid. It was like very very close. And then I said, "Hey, Fatih, come here, go down mid, and tell me if you see me." And I'm jumping. He don't see me, but I see like his half body. I jump again. You don't see me? No. So in this moment, I thought there has to be something in the game that allows me to see before somebody else can see me. Some mechanic, whatever it was, I didn't know. And then I was spent like another 3 hours on the server trying to jump without like this coil. What can I do for him to see me? And in the end, it was the jump that anyways everybody already did in his life, because it's like you crouch down, you jump, and you release crouch, so you land without making a step. That was like back then already used for spotting. But in CSGO, for some reason, it gave an advantage. And I tell you honestly, it's a cheat. It's a cheat. Like it's not even on Inferno. Like any other map, I could have done this.
Right.
Any other map.
Right.
And there was a moment where we played against SK back then, or MIBR, I don't remember what team they were. Yeah. And Fer comes middle, and I do this jump spot, and I see him, and I swing and I one-shot him. And I think I tilted him so hard that he came 10 more times.
Okay. Because he wanted to kill you.
And Legia kills Fer every 10 times.
Okay.
Because my pre-aim is always perfect. I know he's fucking fuming. At one point, they start nading me at the box. What is this guy doing? I don't know. But it was just a cheat. Pretty much a cheat.
Because as you say, though, like even though at the time people were memeing on big and the players aren't good enough, especially if people don't know tactics, obviously. But if people look, when I say you 3-0'd the Swiss system, these are the teams you beat. You beat FaZe Clan. By the way, that was like the number 2 team in the world. You beat Cloud9, which was still decent. They had like that run at Cologne and stuff. You beat SK, the number 1 team in the world. Like, bro, these are super legit results. It's not like you got like the worst teams, just fluked your way through. Like, this is actually kind of crazy result, right? The team vibe must have been mental after that when you make the playoffs.
It was crazy. Like, I remember I'm calling my mother. That was the first time I actually started crying in my esports career. Like, of how happy I was. She's crying on the phone. I'm crying on the phone. Like, everybody is just like, these emotions was unreal, especially because I said, like, it was just going uphill, up with big. Like, how can it even become better always? What's happening here right now? It was almost unbelievable, because it never really happened to any one of us. Maybe for God B, but for us, it never really happened.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, and all this hard work pays out. You sacrifice so much. You don't get paid. Everybody around helps you. They sacrifice their jobs to make this whole thing happen. And everything gives you even more motivation. It's absolute high.
As you say, when you got to the playoffs as well, you had like the easier side of the bracket with all these. And then when you played Immortals, you went to the final. The last map, this is a 3-map series, is a 16-14. 16-14. And I'll give you props one more time. Listen to the stat line. Legia, 73-60, plus 13 for the series. You were the top rated player on your team. Not bad. But this is a winnable game, of course. If you have 2 rounds from the end, it's winnable.
We could have won. And I know it haunts Gopi and Tizian for the rest of their life. The Thompson for the rest of their life. They were feeding on train. I remember it was on Pop Talk. against Nico. We lost that round, and then they had money, we didn't, and 16-14. So we would have closed that round out. We are in the semifinals, and this game was actually so nice, but sad that there was no crowd. But I remember because the Brazilians are really fired up people, and especially it had like KNG, Lucas, Henny, all the fucked up guys who like love this fucking shit talk, and I always was kind of the guy who enjoys that also. And I remember like myself and KNG. Outside of the game, we were really cool with each other, hanging out, talking, always nice. But in the game, it was like,
oh, these were the ones with that clip of him like doing.
Yes. And myself and him always went back and forth with each other. I had a good game; it went good for me, so I can also shit talk a lot, even more. But it was just such a nice game for me, and so sad that we lost it. Also, Inferno, man. Bro, there was a guy, he ran down Banana. I'm down mid, and he's running with a bump in his hands. He has 1 HP, and I missed like 7 bullets.
Okay.
7, 1 hit from like 2 meters range. That was big neck breaker. But it was such a nice game. But yeah, the loss was very, very hard. Very hard. Even though you had like a little bit of this feeling, okay, at least you made it to top 8.
That gets you in the next major, legend spot.
You're in the next major already, like that gives you a little bit of comfort. But
the what if?
I swear we could have won this tournament. I swear to God. And this was the only tournament that we could have won. But that's how good we were.
No, if people also don't know what he means as well, as he says, because in the other side of the bracket, it wasn't SK, it wasn't Astralis that made the final. Essentially, the only other good team to beat was VP, and it's actually when they were getting a bit more dodgy. And then the final would have been against Gambit. That's actually doable for a team like Big. That's not something outrageous. Yeah.
Yes. Especially we played these teams a lot of online also in that time, and we beat them. Like VP had no chance against us, really no chance. And Gambit was just depending on like how good will Moby, how good will Hobbit be, and Adrian. Adrian was a different beast at this time also. So yeah, they were always. You can always lose to them anytime. Obviously against us, they were obviously the favorite, but any top team could lose to them on if they have a good day, easily.
Right. I have a question, which is when you went to the Boston major, what happened at this one? What was this one like?
I wasn't at the Boston major.
Oh, right. You were already out of the team at this time.
I was out from this team.
Okay.
Boston? We never made it to Boston, no?
No, the team was qualified. That's the next major. Boston was the next major after this one. It was the beginning of 2018. No, you played this one. It says on
was I?
Yeah, you played this one. The team didn't do well, though. It's like it was a bad tournament, I guess.
I can't remember this tournament at all.
Maybe it was that.
I saw 0.
Okay.
Was it Boston?
Yeah. Here's the thing. To be fair, it was like only a few
wait.
whatever, yeah.
The playoffs were not in Boston, and we didn't make it to playoffs.
Oh, right. Was the studio in Atlanta for the?
Yes.
I see. Right. I see
we played in the Elix. Right. I was like, what the fuck was I in Boston?
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't make it to the playoffs, so I didn't experience Boston.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Now I remember.
It's all good. Right. It wasn't that long after that Legia leaves the lineup of Big, and. You know, later on they got what was his name? They got Smooya in later, right? Why did Legia leave the active lineup? Like, was it always a thing that you might become a coach or something? What was the vibe?
I think we tried for a while after this Boston major still to play, but it just was not the same anymore. As I said, like PGL was like absolute peak for our team, and I don't think it was impossible to be even as close as good for a longer period of time like we were at this time. So our results were not good. We didn't play well, and like we were always super honest to each other. If sometimes it gets brutal, sometimes it doesn't. But they told me that maybe they think that I'm not good enough anymore, whatever, and if I would like to coach the team. And at this time we had Kakafu as coach also when I was still playing, but yeah, I took then over his spot, and he was like more of an analyst, I guess. And yeah, it was from one day to another kind of thing. They asked me, I would never like I noticed myself also that I didn't like perform individually, and that I had games where I actually cost my team the win. So that's also not a good feeling for yourself as a player.
Sure.
And if you're honest to yourself and you're not like chasing the paycheck, you will just admit and you take it. And for me, it was good that I had the chance to stay with the team because I didn't want to leave them. They directly told me they want me to be the coach because they know of my qualities. And yeah, it was kind of an easy decision, I would say.
Like I say, what we'll do is we'll bunch all the coaching stuff. So we'll do the playing stuff. So you did come back the next year. You actually played at IM Sydney. You got to go all the way to Australia. What was this like? Was it like a standing situation or so? Why were you in this lineup?
Yeah, it was a standing situation. I think it was Fox Antares.
It could be, yeah.
I think it was Fox Antares. Yeah, I think he could not travel or get his visa in time because we were in England before for some ESL tournament, I think. And yeah, we had no other player to play. And for me, it was also, I don't know if I had like some dental thing that I had to do or some surgery. I don't remember correct. No, it was actually the dental thing that I couldn't travel on the day with them. And then like the day I had the dental appointment, they called me and said, Nico, John cannot make it. You have to fly to Australia. And then you have to go home after the dentist, pack your bag and fly 30 hours across the globe. But I was hyped. It's always very hard if you play for such a long time and you switch to the coaching role. You always. I don't think there's many coaches who are like 100%. I'm okay with it being just a coach. And for me, I always like had still a little bit of this. I wanted to play, which is also like not a good thing if you're a coach.
And you did also come back and you ended up bizarrely playing in that Flashpoint tournament, if you remember, when you were working with Envy. What was the situation there? Wasn't it supposed to be? You were supposed to be the coach of that team first and then you ended up playing as well, right?
It also happened because of COVID. We had one player from Canada, Moose. And like whenever Flashpoint started, I think it was just the start of COVID. And then there was this question, are we even going to fly or not? And then apparently all the teams said, okay, we will go. We got like a private airplane from Envy even, so we don't go into like too many crowded. Yeah, it was actually pretty dope moment, I think. And yeah, so we don't go into crowded places. And then they flew us to LA, where Flashpoint was held. And we had a huge Airbnb house rented with all like PCs and everything in it to stay for the time for Flashpoint. And like the day we traveled, I think Moose was not allowed anymore to leave the country. So he could not fly out from Canada.
Right.
What are we going to do? He cannot play from online. Only option is I play. So that's how that happened.
Everyone needs a support network, and mine is, of course, my Patreon community, the Scrominati, who in many ways, they're the Sonny to my Cher, saying, I got you, babe. So this video and all the others on my channel were kindly supported by the following names: Ahmed Haju, Mac Pugnaccio Rakula, Adam Tomlin, Animosity, Jensen Go, Tosh, Toucan, and you know it. Jerky's Minion, my main man, always going to be referenced, one of the best patrons of all time. Would you like to ask a question in my AMA? Maybe you want to suggest a topic or a guest to say on my channel? Do you want teasers? Find out who the upcoming Reflections and Talk to Thor interviews are. Maybe you want to do one of those long discussions where you get to set the topics we talk about. Well, if any of these or others appeal to you, put your money where your mouth is. Join the Scluminati today via the Patreon link in the description box below.